I'm like too nervous for this. I don't like this. Okay. Hey guys, and welcome back to Fashionably Broke podcast, episode 69. Y'all know what's happening today. We've been talking about it for a few weeks now. We're just gonna skip highs and lows, and we're getting straight into the nitty, the gritty,
the dirty,
exes, dating, all of the above, goods, bads, highs, lows, and we're just going to see how this goes. We know everyone, has had an ex or two or a situationship or five, and we're just really going to dive straight into this and try to be open and honest about this because we really have never got into this before.
No, we've never gotten into this before on the podcast. Like, we've always been like, oh, that's a story for another time. Like, we're not going to get into this right now. But honestly, it's time. It's time to get into this. It's time to dissect our dating past, our situationship past, all of the horror stories that go along with them, and then maybe a couple funny stories as well. And who knows, maybe some tearjerkers, but we really just hope that, or we already know that majority of y'all can relate to a lot of these stories, and we felt like it was just time to, like, lay it all out there,
Right, yeah. I think I will say I was the one who denied this topic for a while, but we're here, we're ready to talk about it, and it's finally time.
Episode 69 is quite honestly the perfect episode to talk about it. So, we're glad you're here. We hope you're excited.
Yes.
And I think that we should just pretty much jump straight into it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think I'm going to start out with situationships. Okay?
The good old situationship.
Because I'm sorry, everyone has had a good old situationship that has lasted over a year.
Oh.
Over a year.
Maybe a couple.
Right.
If we're being honest.
A year, 2, 3, whatever. I mean, it is what it is.
All of college, I mean, it's fine.
Right. So we're going to go back to a little story time. In college, freshman year. Meet this guy. He's like the cool guy. And I'm like, okay, I'm kind of into this guy. Like, I dig it, whatever. So we start talking. Never leads to dating, ever. Because when does it ever in college? Let's be realistic. In college, when does it ever lead to
It doesn't. It never does.
No. So this was going on for about a year. And then we cut things off. We weren't seeing each other anymore. We weren't talking anymore. Whatever. And then it just so happens that he gets a girlfriend like a month or two later. It always happens that way. It's always the situationship that, oh, I can't commit. A relationship's just like not for me right now.
Not for me. It's not the time. I'm focusing on everything else. I'm focusing on myself. Like, I just can't offer you the time and attention that you need. Boom. Next thing you know, a month later, a couple weeks later, girlfriend.
Right. So that's exactly what happened. Was I a little bitter? Yeah, of course. I was like, all right, whatever. Screw you. I'm never speaking to you again in my life. Fast forward. They break up. He's hitting my line again. And I'm like, don't do it, Cassidy. Don't do it. Don't do it. Started talking again. Ex figures out, and she breaks down my door. Quite literally. Breaks down my dorm door. Breaks through the door. And I think a lot of y'all probably remember this. Right? A lot of y'all, as in the next day was my sorority formal, and she got kicked out of the sorority. As she should. Anyways, this is all leading to something of I have not talked to this guy in 5 years, maybe even 6 years.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. And then I receive a DM like a month ago. Hey, how you been? Are you single? This, that. They always come back. Like, you didn't want me in the first place, so why are you trying to get back in my life now, literally 5 years later? Like, I don't even know who you are anymore. I truly don't know who you are anymore. But I I held strong and I was like, you know what? We can text for a bit, but then I just kind of stopped replying. I was like, I'm over this. Like it's not like it was when we were in college. Like it's stupid now.
So
Stopped replying to him.
you did stop replying to him?
Yes.
Like just cold turkey.
Yes.
How did it end? Like what was the last?
He said good morning, and I just never replied.
Just left him on red.
Right.
I'm so proud of you
Right.
because
Because I'm not good at that. I'm not good at that.
if this were Cassidy 2 years ago,
Right.
if that, 2 years ago, immediate response.
6 months ago, actually.
Immediate response. So why do you think that you chose like not to answer him?
I think I'm just like over it, and he's just like not as cool as I thought he was. You know what I mean? Like in college, it's fun, it's cool. Everyone knows each other. Like, oh, like you're talking to like the cool guy, whatever. And now I'm just like, you're really nothing to me. Like actually nothing, which is I feel like a huge step for me.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Thank you, thank you. Because as you'll learn throughout this episode, I'm a double dipper. I I tend to go back and go back and go back and go back. And
Which
I finally started to draw a line.
Which I feel like, and like, so we have that topic that we'll discuss a little bit later in this episode, but I feel like a lot of people tend to kind of like fall in that habit and like just that trend of like, okay, like you're talking, then you're not talking, then like they reach out again and just immediately you're like, okay, I'm back. And then you stop talking, then you start talking again, stop, start, stop, start. And I feel like obviously like sometimes it happens in relationships, like once it kind of goes past that situationship. And so 100% we are going to talk about double dipping. But I do have to say, Cassidy's case is pretty rare. A lot of times situationships don't end up with an ex-girlfriend breaking and entering.
Right.
And if you ever find yourself in the ex-girlfriend situation, just don't break in. Like, don't break in. Don't try to trash someone's dorm room for no reason.
Right. Cops got involved. Cops were called. You know, it was a whole thing. So yeah, if you're thinking about that, maybe rethink and just like chill out.
Just know that it's 100% not worth it.
Correct. Not freaking worth it on any level.
Any level. The guy, I can probably tell you, not worth it.
Piece of shit, for sure.
Yeah, I was about to say, and Cassidy can probably attest that, but I'm so proud that you kind of like had a little bit of self-control. And I mean, granted, it's been 5+ years now, but like you just decided not to respond. Because I feel like a lot of people have trouble when it comes to walking away, which I noticed that you put in your notes to kind of touch on.
Yes. Yes, I'm not good about walking away. I love to see the best in everyone, and I love to try to better someone.
Mm-hmm. And just give them like chance after chance because, you know, you hear in like, you know, your ear like, oh, I'm going to change, I'm going to do better, I'm not going to ever do this again. And then they do either that thing again or they do something different. And then in your head, you're like, well, at least they didn't do that one thing that they said that they would never do again. Instead, they did do something else. But then now they're telling me the same thing, like, oh, I'm never going to do it again, like, and it gets you.
Right. Yeah. No, and I've been told everything under the sun from I'm going to change, I'm going to do better, I promise, it's you, it's only ever going to be you. And I'm just here to say a lot of the time, that's not true. And I want people to also understand that it is a very hard situation to get out of. Walking away is not easy, and I'm the biggest person to say, I think I needed to go back that many times and needed to be hurt that many times to understand I can't do this anymore. I I don't think I'd ever, in the past, I've never been the one to like cut cold turkey, like, oh, one thing, one lie, like, I'm out. I always want to like hear them out kind of thing. But that's never worked for me. It's always, I'll do better, and then they never do. They actually always do worse. It seems like maybe that's just in my case, but I feel like a lot of people feel that way, that once they have that validation from you that you're not going anywhere, that they can lie to you, that they can do stuff behind your back, that they can cheat on you, do this and that, they're going to keep doing it because they know you're going to be there.
They're going to find other ways to hurt you, but then they'll know, like, oh no, she's going to forgive me at the end of the day because she has, you know, once in the past or this many times in the past. So it's like, I feel like sometimes to them and like their mind it can almost like play out like a game, and it's just like, oh well, no, like this is how our relationship works, when it's like, okay, no, like that's not how it should work. But I do feel like sometimes it's kind of hard to like gauge that point of like, okay, when is it time to be like, all right, this is done? But I feel like that time kind of comes differently for every single person, because in my past, are you kidding me? One text, oh, I'm here, hi, like, nice to see you, it's been a minute, like, how you been?
Right.
And it just takes time after time after time. And then I feel like, kind of as you said earlier, it's like once you get to like a certain amount of times, like a certain amount of hurt, that's when you're like, okay, literally I'm dumb. Like, I'm dumb. Well, I'm done. And and I'm like almost like so numb to like the situation and everything that's happening that like I can just be like, okay, no, done. I'm not going to do this anymore. Like, I'm walking away. Don't ever text or call me again. But I feel like that doesn't necessarily just happen with like situationships. I feel like sometimes, you know, kind of referring back to the double dipping in like relationships that are like very like on and off, it can kind of, you know, turn into that like, okay, how many times am I going to let him hurt me? But then I also kind of want to jump from kind of like the point of or like the POV of being like actually the one in the situation or like the relationship that's like so rocky on and off and like not knowing when to leave or like to just drop it, to like the friend's perspective. And I think that a lot of times, sometimes it can affect friendships because you're like looking at your friend and you're like, is she so stupid? Like, she just needs to like drop him and walk away. But I think that's like in the friend's perspective, you can't tell your friend like enough is enough, like you just need to leave him, or you just need to like walk away, drop him, like he's a piece of crap, like he's a loser. You just kind of have to be there for your friend every single time and just be like, he sucks, but like I'm here for you. Yeah. Because I feel like if you start to like push your friend to be like, hey, you need to like drop him right now, then like your friend's gonna be like, well, I can't trust you, and then she'll run back to him.
Yeah, sounds familiar.
Yeah.
That's one thing, because I've definitely had friends go through this too, being, you know, the bystander friend who's like seeing all of this and seeing how much hurt they're going through. But I'm a huge believer, and like I'll tell you once my real thoughts, and if you still want to be with him, I will support you. I will be there for you. You know, I'll always be here for you, like when things go wrong, when things are going great. Because I've been in that situation where all my friends were telling me to leave him. It's like, this happened this week, this is happening this week, and this happened a month ago. Like, are all these things not adding up for you? And the thing is, you just want to see so much better. And it also stems into a guy's perspective of just lying through the lies, lying to cover up a lie kind of thing. Sometimes I don't know how they keep up with all of it, because
I honestly, I'm like, do they have like one of those, what a detective has, you know, where they have like all of the little like newspaper clippings and it's like strings attached to it and you just have to follow the line, like, or do they have like, do they journal, like, do they, how do they keep track with all of this? I
don't know, because half of them are just like idiots, so I don't know how like I ever freaking believed that. But going back to what I was saying is I think you need to be there for your friend to an extent because she will realize one day.
Yeah.
She will. And the thing is, like, it's going to be hard for them to realize, and it's going to be. So, just personally, I feel like I not lied to my friends a lot about my relationship. I just didn't inform my friends anymore after time and time and time again of things going wrong, just because you start to get, like, embarrassed. So you stop telling family, you stop telling friends, and it's just like, at least I have him here close to me, and like only him and I know our
It's like
business.
our little secret.
Right, exactly. And it's just like, I feel like that is a very awful and toxic thing to get into because, like, looking back, I felt like I needed a friend then more than ever because he would hurt me again and again and again. And then, like, I felt like I couldn't go to my friends because no one knows the updated status of us, or they think we're not even speaking anymore. And I mean, it just turns into like a whole shit show in the end.
Yeah.
Let's just put it at that. It's an absolute whole shit show. And it's just like embarrassing, honestly, like across the board between your friends not knowing much, and then it's quite evident that I've been cheated on my whole past relationship. And it's just like, so when other people start to figure it out, because, you know, word gets around fast, it's just like, oh shit, what am I doing? Here we go again, kind of thing. And it's just a shit show that it turns into.
And it sucks. I mean, and it does suck that, like, because I mean, a lot of people I feel like go through this where it's like they just don't want to tell anyone, even though they know what's happening, like they know what's going on, but it's like you're so embarrassed to like say anything, to be like, okay, yeah, I know, like, Chad cheated on me, but like I'm staying with him, but like we're gonna keep it on like the hush hush, like on the low, no one will know. But it's kind of like, it's hard to have that self-realization to be like, okay, like, why am I embarrassed about this? If I am, like, obviously that's a problem. But a lot of people just don't want to come to terms with that because it's like, no, they think in their head, like, no, my relationship's so much better, like, because no one knows, like, I'm not getting, you know, Sarah in my ear being like, why are you with him? Like, you know what he did to you? Or, you know, your mom and dad over here, like, judging you. When it's like, at the end of the day, like, you know, you're making a poor decision, but it's like, in the moment, it feels good.
Right, exactly. And it was 100% a comfort thing for me. I think we got together at a very weird, awkward stage, hard stage of life.
Yeah.
We were graduating college, moving into the real world, getting our first job, learning how to live on our own, how to pay our own bills, and it's just nice to have like that
someone that you can depend on.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just never worth it in the end. And I feel like I've done a ton of reflecting over this whole situation, and I feel like I said I'm finally ready to talk about it on the podcast because I've had time to think about it, time to process everything. I'm not speaking out of anger. I'm just like speaking out of like experience now. And it makes me mad that I had such low self-respect for myself. Because at the end of the day, as much like a lot of people don't want to admit it, that's exactly what it is. You're disrespecting the hell out of yourself. Letting a guy do this to you over and over and over. And you know about it every single time. Every single lie, it starts to add up, and it's just a huge like disrespect thing, and I just don't understand like how it took me 3 years to leave him.
Because I think that it's hard. I'm trying to like find the words to explain it. Because it's almost like, and it's not really actually like this, but it's pretty much like a drug addict trying to quit a drug. Like, trying to go stone cold sober. Like, it's really, really freaking hard, especially when they're, you know, blowing your phone up, or like they're just right there and you can reach them so easily that like you just are tempted to go back, or like they're tempting you. And it's going through like the breakup process almost without any closure, just knowing that like, okay, they cheated on me, like, okay, so like I wasn't good enough. Like, what could I have done better? Like, how can I be better? Like, what can I do to, like, make them, you know, want me or want to stay with me or love me or whatever it is. It's like, you can't, like, almost, like, leave with that closure. Exactly. Because it's not closure.
That's what it starts to turn into. And I feel like that's why you keep
going back.
It's because you want to be enough. You want to change this, or you want to change that, or you want to try harder, or you want to be the cool girlfriend. You want to let them do whatever they want to do, kind of thing. So he won't do that again, but he just ends up doing it more and more and more. Yeah. But I think it's just, you have to cut cold turkey, as hard as it is.
No, I mean, it truly is.
There's no other way.
But in one of my previous relationships, I was cheated on. The story's kind of funny. Well, one half of the story is kind of funny. I'm going to take a second to explain it because, honestly, this is a way to be told that you're being cheated on by the person. So I was in college, and to those that don't know, I went to LSU, and it rains a lot there. There's, like, a specific season, monsoon, like, it rains just a crap ton. My freshman year, I was walking to my math class, and it was downpouring, like, in rubber boots. The water was, like, all the way up to my calves in the rubber boots. Like, I was soaked, okay? Running late for math class. Walk in, sit down, look at my phone. The last text says, I've been cheating on you with, with all of these girls. It was a full-on note on your phone with all of these girls' names, mine in the middle, more names at the end, and then my phone shut off. God so I'm
just take a breather.
Phone went black, Apple sign on. I'm like, what? Professor walks up. All right, everybody, let's start class. And I'm just sitting there staring at my phone like what just happened? Like, I can't even go back to look to, like, make sure I read it right. So I'm like, okay, have to sit through my hour and a half or however long the math. I couldn't even tell you, like, what I learned that day.
Oh, obviously.
No.
Wasn't paying attention one bit.
Not at all. So I, like, rushed back to my dorm, and this is another long story that we won't get into, but I did have, like, an extra, like, spare phone that was still connected. So I didn't know if it was still connected. So, like, I turned it on, realized it still had service. So I, like, call my parents, and I'm like, okay, hey, I know I'm calling you off of this old phone number. That's a story we'll get into in a second. My phone completely stopped working. Also, found out I was cheated on. So I need to get to a phone store literally right now. What do I need to do? Like, I need a phone at this very moment. Ended up getting a new phone, and then didn't speak to said person for about a week. Because I just couldn't deal with not having any answers. Because I read the list, boom, gone, vanished. So it's hard to not want to go back. And then that relationship continued off and on for the next year, 2 years, until they did it again. But it was never official again. It's one of those things that it's just, like, sometimes it's so hard to, like, when you know, like, obviously they're not good for me. Like, they put me through so much, like, shit. But it's like, why are you so, like, tempted to, like, continuously go back and try again when it's, like, you know, kind of, like, it's gonna end the same way?
That was my thing, is, like, every time I knew what I was getting myself into. And I just, still till this day, like, I try to comprehend, like, why was I doing that? I'm not saying I wasted 3 years. It wasn't a waste. I learned a ton about myself, and I gained a ton of self-confidence back. The fact that all of this was over, I definitely benefited from this in the best way possible. in the situation. But I just don't understand why we can't cut cold turkey.
Well, and it's also one of those things too where when, you know, someone says like, oh, you know, I have been broken up with this person for so long, like, but I can't find another relationship. I think that kind of comes into play of like, okay, but you are still thinking about that person. And like, again, it's just like, honestly, I think it's just going through like, or like why you can't quit it is like, you're just going through like a really bad breakup. And it's kind of traumatic in a sense that like you still have that like pull to that person even though they did you so wrong, like even though they made you go through like those emotions and almost like that like quote unquote trauma, like it almost like ties you to them when it's like they used to be like such a sense of like comfort that you're like, okay, I know that they did a bad thing, but like they're still my comfort person. And it's almost in a sense of like, yes, sure, you have the facts in front of you, but like, it's almost like not physical facts. Unless, you know, you walk in on them like actively cheating on you, then who knows, it could be a little bit easier. But it's almost like this sense of like, okay, you know this information, but like you can't physically see this information. So it's almost like your brain's kind of creating this disconnect of like, okay, like I know this, but like, is it fully factual? I don't know. Like, really, it's like you almost trick yourself into being like, well, it might not actually be true. Like, I don't believe it because I didn't see it.
From a girl you don't know.
Yeah.
It's always the hey girl on Instagram or this or that or a random text of someone somehow got my number. It's just, the anxiety I get from DM requests of people I'm not following, like, obviously that anxiety's gone now because I'm single as can be. But when I was with that person, like, stomach drop every single time.
Yeah.
And, I mean, every single time it was someone new. And I actually have such a funny story about this. I just had a girl reach out to me on Instagram.
Like, recently?
3 weeks ago? A month ago? Right. I had this girl reach out to me on Instagram. Let's just say she doesn't live in the state of Texas. Okay, cool. How do you know me? I'm a person who, like, I look at my story viewers and I could see she was viewing my story. And I was like, I don't know who this girl is. She doesn't follow me. This is weird. Anyways, fast forward to like 3 weeks, a month ago. I was posting Taylor Swift lyrics, and I think the lyrics were like, but I can change him, or something like that. You know? Relatable. You always think you can change him, you never can. And she slid into my DMs and said, I think we all thought we could change him. Sorry? Who are you?
How are you just now telling me this as well?
Because I did, like, it... My life is just like, I have had, you know...
Yeah, I do have to say, Cassidy has... No, really has not had the best track record. And, and it sucks to see. Because, like, yes, I've had some not so good relationships. Well, really, honestly, just, like, one. And I've had a lot of not good situationships. But to an extent. And then, like, I'm like, oh my god, I used to be like, Cassidy, my life is over, like, what do I do? Like, this happened, can you believe that? She'd be like, well, I'll take that and raise you one, because guess what just happened to me? And I'm like, how? Like, how? There's no way. I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I don't know what it is.
No, I don't either, because I'm sorry, I hate to say this, I think I'm one of the best girlfriends ever. Ever. I will love you like no other. I will support you. I will help you. I will do anything for you. I'm such a loving person.
But I think that's probably why. Correct. It's because, like, you are so, like, and, like, again, this has nothing bad to do with you. Like, this is not, and, like, you should never change. But it's people take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Because, like, me, on the other hand, honestly, I'm and Morgan can probably contest, I'm probably the worst girlfriend ever. I don't do anything. Like, I obviously will love you so very much, and I'll shower you with love, but, like, am I, like, the best? Probably not. But I try my hardest.
Right. Well, I just need to pull back on the reins, and that's what I've been doing because yeah, I get that message, and I had an idea since she'd been stalking me because she did not live in Texas and she lived where So Guy lived, and I was like, something's happening, something sketchy's going on, and then I was just like, oh, like what are you talking about? I was just like,
who are you talking about? I'm so confused. I'm so lost.
right, right. And I was just like, so did y'all and him have something? And she's like, well, we did, but then I saw that like you went to like a family event. And then like I cut things off with him because like he said like y'all weren't seeing each other. And I was like, okay. Okay. And I literally found this out like a few weeks ago to a month ago when I have had this guy blocked on everything for months on end. And it's just hilarious that it's honestly funny. It's, you can laugh at it now. It's honestly funny that I'm still receiving messages through my Instagram.
Been so long.
About said person. Like, what is happening? Literally, leave me alone. Leave me alone.
That means said person is talking about you.
Obviously.
But
look at me. Look at me.
Okay. Some of these topics I am going to be pretty out of touch with just because I have, and I told Morgan I would say this, I have an angel baby boyfriend. Sorry, not to rub it in.
You're one of the lucky ones.
An angel baby. He is the greatest. To me at this age, I feel like I get the like stalking of like the ex-girlfriend or like of the situationship. Granted, it's been a couple of years. I just feel like now we're almost at that age, unless it's like, 100% there's overlap, that like active cheating is happening. To me, I don't really see a point of like, oh, I was talking to him like during this time, unless it's like, okay, there's something like actively happening, actively going on. Like, I don't know, what are your thoughts on that? Of like, I wouldn't reach out.
Right, I wouldn't either. And my thought is she was trying to like create a bond over it. Like, this is something we can relate to because he's with someone else. He's with someone else now, and was there overlap there too? Yeah, 100%.
Probably, yeah. I mean,
surprise.
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah.
Like, with everything, there's overlapping. He was telling me he loved me while he was flying to see her, but it's whatever. I think she was trying to just like relate and trying to talk about it because he had someone new, that he was actively dating someone new. Because other than that, like, I don't know. Because she was just like, you deserve so much
it's kind
better,
of random.
Blah,
You're like, bitch, I know. It's been a long time. I know I deserve so much better.
Right. And I'm just, I don't know, it was almost giving she like wanted to tell me or wanted to reach out to me forever because she was looking at my profile for a while. Like a while.
Really?
Yeah. And I just like never really said anything. It's just like, well, actually there was one time I said something to said guy. And I was like, who's this girl? She keeps looking at my stuff. Like, who is this? I know where she lives. It's in her bio. I'm not surprised. And he had the nerve to say, oh, she's a friend. And when we like went through a rough patch, I was like talking to her of like what I should do, just from like a girl's perspective.
If a guy ever answers like that, girls,
right.
I just want you to know that is number one a red flag.
Oh, 110% a red flag. But the most red flag and the funniest thing of all is I told her that. And I said, oh yeah, I know
about you
because he talked about me to you. And she goes, he never said a word about you. And I said, oh.
So then how did she find you?
I think it was through a sibling. A post, a story repost. That we were all together in a photo.
Okay.
And I think she figured out my name. Maybe he'd said my name before, and she just, I mean, you know, us girls are good at figuring that stuff out, kind of thing. But like when it comes down to it, I have no idea. And also an excuse he made was like, oh, she's looking at your stuff because she probably really likes your outfits. And like is flying through your LTK.
And Cassidy's like, ooh, you don't have to tell me twice. Hell yeah, girl.
I'm like, you're so right. You're so right. She loves my outfits, and she's just looking for some outfit inspo. You're so right. No, I was being gaslit the hell out of is what was happening.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
But it's just like, it was comical that it's still happening, and it's just, I'm trying so hard to get away from it all. So hard. Like, leave me alone.
Well,
like,
and that's what I was, so the one thing that too, for some reason, like you always find like yourself in is like people constantly trying to like bring you back to it. And I do have to say, like, there really hasn't been many times that that's happened to me. Really, not many. So it's like I just find it like crazy because sometimes it just seems like either him and then these other girls, like he's like trying to like stir things up in them so that they'll like basically reach out to you, because I feel like yes, a lot of time like girls are like detectives and can find literally anything out, but I feel like sometimes it's like the guy has to push them enough to be like, okay, I'm gonna message her, like I'm gonna send her, I'm gonna DM her, like I'm gonna like whatever, because I don't know, I've never like been in a situation I said ex-boyfriend that I spoke about earlier, there were times that I had received messages about him doing other things with girls. So again, that should have been where I drew the line, and if it happens more than once, you know, maybe I should believe the girls coming to me, and then it wouldn't have probably gotten to the extent that it did, and then kept going. But there really hasn't been many cases but so I'm like, it has to be the guy that's like stirring this stuff up in these girls to be like, oh, I have to reach out to her.
No, and I think it is.
It's nothing you're doing.
I'm chilling. You're blocked on everything.
I'm living my life.
Don't even try to reach out. I mean, from Venmo to Instagram to Twitter, you're blocked on everything. I think guys in general have a very big issue about being alone. No matter if they like the girl, if they don't like the girl, if it's a previous relationship, if it's someone new, I think they always have to have somebody, especially in this stage of life. I think guys kind of like start to freak out in this stage of life, and I feel like sometimes guy friends aren't as close as like girlfriends are, where girlfriends, you know, help you through the hard times, or you talk about jobs, or you talk about your feelings, or, you know, the hardships of, you know, whatever in life. And I feel like guys don't really have that, so they just confide in a girl. So this leads me to a question I have for you is, what are your thoughts on someone getting into a relationship right after they've broken up with somebody?
I think that's the stupidest thing that anyone could ever do.
And why?
Because, okay, so this kind of goes into, like, the healing process, or, like, when you think you're ready to move on. For guys and girls, it's very different. But I think, so from a girl's perspective, I think that I'm speaking from experience, I guess, from, like, my last very serious relationship, I didn't date anyone for, like, 5 years. Not because, like, halfway into those 5 years, I wasn't even thinking about that person, but I wasn't ready to fully be able to commit, open myself up. Like, I wanted to take the time to, like, figure myself out and, like, my journey, my thoughts, like be comfortable within myself to then like, okay, yes, I will be open to a relationship. Granted, that time and like almost that processing is a lot different for everybody, but I don't feel like someone can break up with someone. I mean, really, no matter how long the relationship is, but like, especially like a serious one, and then like immediately, I think that you can start dating around, potentially like going on dates, like filling your time, I guess. I think that it should be approached very carefully, but I don't think that anyone is ready to like jump right into another relationship, because then you don't know yourself without another person, and then that's when you become like a serial dater, and then like when a relationship doesn't work out, you're just literally like jumping out of that relationship and looking for your next one. And like, to me, I feel like that isn't the foundation of being able to build a happy and healthy relationship, because then like almost like if things start to get rocky, then what is your mind doing? Your mind's starting to wander to like, oh, I need to find my next victim.
Right. I need to move on to the next. Like, I need to have that backup just in case this.
And it's like, to me, then I feel like you're not actually like looking and valuing someone. You're just literally looking to date someone and to be with someone so you're not lonely. But kind of what I was saying about like the girls and the guys, guys move on so much more quickly than girls, but I think sometimes that also bites them in the ass, because the way girls process like a breakup is obviously they're extremely sad right at the beginning. They go through those emotions, like they're crying, they're upset, you know, like they're grieving the loss of their relationship. Then like as time goes on, again, that time's different for everybody, they start to like get better. They start to not think about them as much. They start to, you know, basically they start moving on. With guys, it's the opposite effect. It's like they break up and then they're instantly like, all right, I'm moving on, like whatever, I'm not thinking about her. And then like it hits them later where they're like, oh, I want to reach out. Like, I wonder how she's doing, if they haven't already jumped into another relationship. It hits them further. So like that initial breakup where like while the girl's like, I want to text him, I want to call him, like I want to hear from him, I can't, like I need closure, or I need to speak to him because you're upset. The guy doesn't go through that right away. The guy goes through that later.
Yeah. And I think that's just how you get in that like toxic cycle, because like the guy comes back and just as it feels as if like you're healing and you're done, you're sucked back into it kind of thing. But I guess this can lead us into a, you know, how to leave, how to work on yourself, how to get back on your feet with dating, or just like with being yourself again and finding confidence in yourself. Because I know there are a ton of people who, you know, go through breakups. It doesn't even matter if you get cheated on or not. Breakups in general, like I feel
They're
like
tough.
sometimes that can like shatter your self-confidence, because it's basically someone saying, hey, I don't want to be with you, like this and this and this sucks about you, and like you need to work on this, or you need to change this. Like it's not a good situation for anyone most of the time.
I was about to say, even if it is like an amicable oh my god, an amicable, thank you,
Correct.
breakup, like it's still a hard process, or it's still something really hard to process, because it's like you go from the point of having this person there for you, like they're your best friend, to like, hey, even though it was mutual, like we're deciding to part ways, it's like you're still removing that person cold turkey from your life, and it's like, whoa, and you need time to like process that. I mean, we get sad when someone dies. A breakup is almost like the same thing. They're exiting your life, and you most likely won't see them again, talk to them again, like have any sort of contact. Granted, they are still around, so you can contact them. But then again, just the contacting sometimes just makes it a lot more difficult. And I mean, truly, I think guys have an easier time of like no more contact. Like, I don't want to contact you again. And then they can like move on with their life. While girls, on the other hand, just, I hate to say it, like, I mean, I know from my experience, I know from your experience, like, just almost like that self-control of like not being able to like contact them again, like ever, is a lot more difficult and harder to grasp.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think the first thing is like cutting cold turkey. I will never believe in being friends with your ex or being close with your ex or, this can end in a good way. Let's just be friends. We can still hang out. No, that never works.
My number one advice, honestly, is to go ahead and unfollow them on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why would you keep following them? Because their stuff's gonna come up on your feed. You're not gonna be able to stop yourself from like looking at their profile, seeing what they're up to. And yes, there is like, I follow I say a couple exes, but like I do still follow a couple, but also it took so much time. Even if it was like, well, I guess I can't really talk about one because I was about to say one I did break up with and we're still friends, but like our lives are so different that like, I don't even think that we're friends. We like follow each other on social media. I feel like we're
just like
we're super cordial so long ago. But I think number one is don't follow them because you will contact them. You will stalk them. Even if you don't contact them, you're going to stalk them. And then you're going to, every single time you go to their page, you're going to like find yourself back in this sad loop all over again. Once you start to feel better, you're going to go look and be like, why did I do that?
Yeah, because you're always going to find something you do not want to find. Yes. It's always the truth. You just have to cut cold turkey. You have to unfollow and you have to stop all communication. And even one thing that I told my friends, and sometimes I hate to be this person, but like our breakup was not good whatsoever. And my friends knew it. And I said, guys, I would really appreciate it if everyone took him off. I don't want you being tempted to tell me what he's posting. I don't want you even looking at what he's posting and feeling like you're keeping something from me. So I told my friends, I said, please unfollow him. Just do it. And all my friends unfollowed him. And I told them, I was like, I'm at a point in my life where I don't even want to bring him up. I don't care the situation. I don't want to hear his name. I don't want to talk about the situation. I don't care. Like, and I think that helps a lot is having like that good friendship with friends, being open and honest and saying, hey, I'm going through a shit show right now and like this sucks. And like, don't ever say his name in this.
Oh, like, yeah. And like, don't bring it up. Like,
right.
To sometimes, like, I know sometimes friends have like the problem of like, oh, but like, I saw it and I really want to say like, oh my God, like even if you want to talk shit, like don't bring it up to your friend that's like going through something really hard and bad. Another thing is this is really only comes into play if like you live in the same place as like an ex or, a recent ex situationship, even if it was kind of a serious one. Is if you live in like the same place, the same area, and it is like almost a smaller area, or like you do have a higher probability of like running into them at the bar. I recommend going to two places and going to do stuff that you know that you will not run into them. Because when you run into them, it just makes things 10 times worse. Even if you are trying to show that like, I don't care, like I'm doing so much better, honestly, it still makes it worse. Like, you don't want to see them. Like, what do you think you're going to do when you see them?
So to say, and honestly, it hurts so much. Like, guys don't want to see, like, oh, I'm so much better without you. Like, look at me. I'm doing, like, guys don't give a shit about that.
No.
Like, if you go ghost, if you don't see them, if you're going to different places, you're not even trying to run into them, they're going to be like,
oh, I wonder why I haven't seen Sarah over here at Midnight Oil. I don't know. Like a bar that y'all go to every Thursday night or like every Saturday night or like, even if it's like your favorite place to go, don't go for a couple of months. Like find a new place. Yeah, find a new place. Like bring your business elsewhere because then if they find themselves there and they're like, oh, well, Jessica is normally here at 5 p.m. on a Thursday playing trivia. Where is Jessica? I don't know. And then it shows like, okay, you obviously know that they're going to be there, so you chose not to go. And then they'll be like, where are they?
Yeah, thank God I don't have to deal with that, or didn't have to deal with that.
Very true.
The perks of someone living out of state.
Very true. But, I mean, like, needless to say, all of this is advice and or tips that we've kind of gathered through our bad decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, just things that we've learned throughout the past. Granted, like, y'all might be like, why am I taking advice from Maddie? Because she is in a relationship. I've been through it. I've been in shitty relationships. I've had situationships. I've been broken up with. I have broken up with someone. I've been cheated on. And, like, you take it and you learn from it and you grow from it. And I do have to say, this advice is actually kind of fire.
No, yeah. And that's my thing is, like, we're trying to help someone, you know, if you're in that situation of you're like, what do I do? I need to leave, but I can't get out. Like, no, you need to get out, and you will get out, kind of thing. It's just going to take time, and it's going to be at a time that you're ready. But also, this is kind of us just like spilling our lives, because I think social media kind of portrays that life is all rainbows and butterflies.
It's not.
And that a relationship was perfect, or that a relationship, you know, was still going on when it wasn't going on. It's just like there's just so many different things with social media that it's just nice to hear from like another person's perspective that like dating hasn't been great and that they've been through the ringer, but we're on the other side of things. You know, Maddie's in a happy relationship and, you know, he's freaking amazing. And I'm on the side of where I'm like, you know, I'm excited to start dating because I know exactly what I want and exactly what I don't want now. And like I know I will never put up with that again.
And you've gotten to that point, and it's taken you your own time, which kind of brings me back into just like real quick, you know, before we start to wrap things up, we do have a fun game that we're going to play at the end that we'll do super quickly so that this episode isn't like 3 hours long. But we didn't really fully touch on double dipping. Okay, so double dipping is pretty much going back to a relationship that has ended before. So might not necessarily be like your typical relationship like we were boyfriend girlfriend, but could be situationship. I'm going to say it here once, and I could go many different ways. Honestly, double dipping is never the right way to go. Yes, there are some examples, and I know some people in my life that they were dating, they broke up for a while, then they reconnected, and they got married. They reconnected after years and years. It's never been a span of like, oh, we've been broken up with a couple months, and then like, we're getting back together. Honey, it's not going to work. I'm sorry. Yeah. When truly does it ever happen? And if it does, it's because you grew apart, you even explored other relationships, and then like something brought y'all together and y'all were ready because y'all were pretty much different people from when y'all first met and first broke up. But even just taking that aside, in my experience and many other experiences that I've witnessed, it never works out.
Yeah.
You broke up for a reason.
Right. It never works out. And if I would have listened to my mom years ago, my mom's big thing was never let a guy tell you he doesn't want you twice.
Amen.
Never let a guy tell you he doesn't want you twice. Because it's never going to work out. He's never going to see you the same way. It's just, and I know it's hard to get through your head, and I know you're like, oh no, this time's like, going to be different.
Yeah, he does want
it's
me.
Not.
No. It's going to either end the same exact way or worse.
Right. And it's okay to be on your own and to be dating around. And I feel like I'm so happy and excited to be like starting to date around and seeing like what I want and just like finding a person where I'm like, wow, like not everyone is awful and not everyone will do the things that I've been through in the past. Like there is someone out there who's going to treat you so well, and you're finally going to understand like why like everything in the past didn't work out. And like that's even a big thing for me to say because like I haven't found that person. And I haven't really been dating much, but like I'm so excited finally for the future of like what that's going to be like.
No.
So,
Oh, 100%.
I'm excited.
I love it. And that just kind of closes off with like moving on. Moving on looks so different for everybody, and it's one of those things that you can't really rush. And like honestly, you kind of know when you're ready, like you just know. There's not really like you will be able to realize like you can't rush. And like when I say like you really cannot rush, like really do not rush. It took me all of college. Like I like went out on dates and I like quote unquote dated around and like I had different situationships, but none of them were relationships, and I knew none of them were going to be relationships because I was not ready. And there was part of me that was still thinking about the past, and then it literally just became a point where I was like, I'm so done. Like they are pretty much like, they are so in the past, like I don't even really think about them ever.
Right.
And it's just like the sense of like you are like, you just know, like you feel it, that you're ready to move on. And like even if you're not ready to like move on and, you know, start looking for another relationship or like going on dates to potentially find a relationship, just like I'm moving on like forever. Like no more double dipping, no more stalking, no more stalking on like social media, not like actual stalking.
Right. Well, maybe that too.
Yeah, no more of that either. And like you just know, and it takes everyone a different amount of time, and you can't compare yourself to your friends. You can't compare yourself to others around you, like, and you can't let anyone push you into saying like, oh, you've moved on, like you're moving on. No, like it is your own journey and like something that you have to kind of experience on your own. And like my moving on could be a hell of a lot different than Cassidy's, or like just like on when you're ready to either start dating or like start looking for a new relationship, or just like to be like done and over it and like just moving forward with your life. Because what irks me the most is sometimes people saying like, well, like I've been single for this amount of time, or like oh, it's been a year since I broke up with him, like and it's like, okay, but are you actually like moved on? Because I don't think that you are.
Right, moved on, happy with yourself, happy where you are in your life right now, and ready to actually open yourself up 100% to another guy. I understand that, there have been traumas in the past, there's been this and that, but there comes a time where it's like, I cannot compare every single guy moving forward to what I've had in the past. Because nothing's ever going to work out if you keep comparing to the past, because not everyone is like that.
Yeah.
But that is that healing moment of you have to be fully healed, prepared to, take on somebody else and really open up and make sure that like I'm 100% over them. So like what they did in the past doesn't even affect me.
Yeah. No, 100%.
But yeah, I guess that's basically just our whole spiel of situationships, exes, dating, cheating, double dipping. Don't do it. Good Lord.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
You'll get trapped for years.
Trapped in a cycle that will not end until it's just been way too much. Right. But we kind of thought it would be funny or fun to end this episode with almost like a little game. So, it's what would you do? So, what would you do dating edition? Okay, so, we came up with a couple, like, situations, and, we just want to know, like, what we would do, like, what each other would do, how we would react, what we would say, like, would we give them a second chance? Would we not? Just, a little fun, something to spice it up. So, and we'll both answer too. Okay, so Cassidy, what would you do if a guy will not stop talking about his ex on the first date?
No, I'm out. That is sign number one that you're not over them. I think that's literally what I just said. That's not comparing or talking about your stupid ex. Hell no. It's a no for me. I'm out. I'll probably just get up and leave. I won't even say anything. Just leave. I won't even wait till the end of the day.
Would you?
Oh, 100%. feel like I've got some nerve now, and I feel like sometimes I'm like, okay, like
Good.
be considerate, but I'm like, no.
Have the audacity. Have it.
Correct.
I fully agree. Fully agree. Okay. Cassidy, what would you do if your date asks you to split the bill on the first date? I can tell you exactly what I would do. I mean, I would pay it. But I'm sorry. I am, call me old fashioned. But
no, I agree.
If this is a date, you will, like, the gentleman will pay.
Right.
And then the next day, hell, like, sure, we can split, or I can even cover it. Like, that's totally fine. But from that move, I would be like, okay, so we're friends moving forward. Like, no, like, this is not gonna go past a friendship.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
No, I agree. I feel like you're the one who asked me on this date, so it implies that you're willing to pay for my half. I mean, obviously, if like it came down to it, yeah, I would pay, and like
I would pay, but
not really say anything in the moment. But that would be like the defining factor of like, you're actually not the one for me.
Yeah, not the one. Next.
Okay, the next one is what would you do if your date cancels 45 minutes before your scheduled dinner with a seemingly made up excuse?
To me, that I'm done. Like, it took me this long to get ready. Yeah. I will probably not offer a second. I said, so there's two scenarios. Seemingly made up. If he's like, hey, I'm trying to think of something like kind of made up that I would be like, I don't really know if I trust that. Honestly, if he was like, hey, my car broke down, I would be like, number one, send me a pic. Also, Uber.
Right. No, yeah, 100% Uber. Like, okay, leave your car where it is. Uber, like you'll deal with that later. You've had this planned, and like, yeah, if someone cancels, it's like game over, because I'm still a person who like, I get so nervous to like go on those dates. So like when I'm committed and going, it's a big deal.
The amount of hype it takes.
For you to cancel,
no. I mean, granted, I'll just make the most of my time now that I am fully ready and, you know, ready to go get some dinner and some drinks. I'll call up the girls and be like, hey, guess what?
We're going to dinner.
Yeah, we're going to go do dinner and drinks. But yeah, so, I would kind of have to be like, I don't know.
Okay, but on the flip side of that, if it seems like a valid excuse of like, oh no, this is happening, can we please reschedule? Well, what would you say?
I'm trying to think of like a super valid excuse, because I feel like car could be a valid excuse, but
or it's like my meeting's running late at work. I can't make happy hour.
Okay, then I'd be like, okay, that's totally fine. Let's reevaluate. Like, do you want me to make some dinner reservations?
Okay, yeah.
And then and then if he comes back with, ooh, sorry, like, it's gonna run super late, I'd be like, okay, well, thank you for you're welcome. No, I'd be like, you're welcome for my time. Like, I would probably leave it, like, open-ended, like, not a problem, like, and then I would wait to see if they actually, like, reschedule.
Right, actually make the time and, like, the effort to text you and be like, hey, I know I'm going to be free this day, let's reschedule.
Yeah, but I won't be the one to be like, okay, well, like, what about this date? Or like, oh, let's grab dinner some other time. I would probably just be like, okay, like, not a problem.
Yeah.
And then just leave it at that. And if they just don't, I won't be the one to reach out.
Right. No. Agreed.
Guys have it tough, man.
Yeah. Okay. So what would you do when your date is more than 15 minutes late to a time you agreed upon?
What sucks is like,
I don't do late.
I'm always late, but like, you don't be late on me.
Right. The girl can be late. Late. But a guy, you better be there 10 minutes early, sitting at the table waiting.
Yeah. Or, I mean, and like, especially if he doesn't say anything, like, I would be like, do you not have a clock?
Yeah.
Do you not have a watch?
Is a lot to all of this is communication. If you keep me updated, that's okay.
Then
Oh my gosh,
then we're fine.
There's an accident, highway shut down, it's taken me so much long. Oh, yeah.
Not a
Thanks for letting
problem.
me.
I got the table, don't worry.
Thanks for letting me know. Like, I'll go grab the reservation and I'll wait for you to get there.
Yeah. But the thing is I'm always late. So I will most likely be late, and if they're later than me, I'm probably just gonna leave.
Is that actually you're way late?
You're like super late, so I don't think that this will work because we won't get anywhere at any time on time.
On time. Yeah, no.
Okay. What would you do if your date asks you for like details on your past relationship? Like, what would you do? What would you say? How would you react?
That is something you can talk about a little further down.
I would say save that, like, this is a conversation, or like, this is a topic for like date 4.
Right. Like when you're really like wanting to get into the nitty gritty, actually thinking about dating each other and just like want to know what you've been through in the past or what you've dealt with or this or that.
Mm-hmm.
First date.
It's a little much there, buddy.
My ex, please.
Yeah.
Don't. That's just weird, and that's very. I don't think I've ever had that happen to me.
Or I have one that's not written down. Okay, what would you do if your date asks you something that you haven't ever mentioned before, but you know for sure he found it on your social media or he got it from social media?
I'm not mad about that.
No?
No. I'm not mad about that at all.
What if he was like, oh, how was your trip to San Antonio last weekend? And you were like, what?
See, I'm not mad about that whatsoever.
Really?
Oh, babe, I stand out on social media?
I would probably answer, be like, oh, so you've been looking at my stories. Okay. It was great.
Yeah, no, I don't find any problem in that.
Or like, what if it was something like way far back? Where he's like, I saw you went to Greece. It's always been my dream to go to Greece.
I'd probably be like...
Or like, where was your favorite place in Greece? And you're like, what?
Right. I feel like it could get a little awkward once it starts getting like later and later in the feed that they're talking about. Because that's just like, you know, we all know everyone stalks before going on a first date. But like, don't tell on yourself. You know what I mean? Like, don't do that. Nobody wants that. No one wants, please. I just said I enjoy people looking at my Instagram. Please don't do that on a first date. God forbid, please.
Oh my God, I'm dead.
So many guys listening to this podcast who want
to so many. All right, I'm going to read this last one because I don't know if it is written confusing. Okay, so what would you do, like, if your date was open and honest and let you know that he, like, was going on dates with other girls, like, he wanted to let you know, but, like, is interested in seeing where, like, your relationship's going?
So, this is a good question, Maddie.
It is, actually. Yeah. Or they're like, hey, I pretty much just met you. I have been, or, like, I had a couple other dates. Mm-hmm. One is a second date. And, you know, it's obviously after this, I want to let you know ahead of time, mm-hmm. just so that, you know, for some reason, like, if you somehow see or find out, I don't know, or maybe, like, y'all, I don't know, like, y'all have known each other, maybe y'all are on the second date, and he is like, I had previously scheduled this other date, or, like, mm-hmm. I needed a date to a wedding, and right. I had asked her a while ago, but I just met you.
Right.
I just met you, and I want to let you know.
So that's something I respect very much, and I'd rather be told that than not be told anything at all. And I also think that...
Would you voice,
at this age, that's normal.
Yeah.
And I want to do that. I want to, date around, go on a few dates, see what I like, see what I don't like. So I don't see a problem with it in today's world, mm-hmm. because that's kind of just what you have to do.
Yeah.
Like, I would rather you be open and honest and say that, because then if I'm following you on Instagram and I turn around 3 weeks later and, you know, you haven't asked me on a second date, yet you're with this other girl. It's like, oh, like, you were talking to this girl the entire, like, that just, like, snowballs into, like, a bigger thing that we don't need happening.
Where, like, ghosting happens, and you're like, okay,
right.
well, I'm never talking to this guy again.
Right. But I just think, I hate to say it's normal, but, like, at this age, like, you're really trying to figure out who you, like, mesh with well in a relationship. So I don't mind you dating others, going on dates with others, obviously to a certain extent.
That was like previously planned, and then I think to that extent of like them telling you, it's like, okay, then I feel like they are somewhat interested in me and like obviously like want me to know, so that like if I do by chance see it, or like, you know, we go on another date and, you know, he just comes back from like a wedding with someone else, then it's like not weird.
Right. No, I agree. I agree to that. But I don't know. Sometimes it's just weird because it's like almost like you're up against someone, and I'm like, oh my God, been there, done that. Like, stop.
Well, what's funny is why I asked that is because Morgan did that to me.
Oh my God. No, but like
we had our first date and he was like, I just want to let you know that a couple months ago, like obviously I was invited to a wedding and I had taken this girl out on like a date or two, and I wanted, like, you know, I didn't want to fly solo to this wedding, so like I invited her. He's like, I'm gonna be honest, like I don't really see much like moving forward with her, but I want to let you know so that like you're not blindsided, like, so I just want to let you know so like you're not upset or anything. And like obviously it's like if I would have known you before I would have asked you, but I didn't, so, and I'm not going to like cancel on her last minute, so.
God, what a catch, Maddie. What a freaking catch. I can't wait for the day that I find someone who's not.
It'll happen. Hey,
we're on the ups, baby. We're on the ups.
Everyone has their flaws, but it takes time. It honestly takes like finding shitty relationships, dating shitty people, I feel like, to then find someone that's like worth your time.
Yeah. No, I agree. I completely agree. And I don't know.
You gotta get through the losers.
Exactly. What is it? You have to kiss a few frogs before your prince? Yeah. Been there, done that. Okay. Where's the prince? No, I'm kidding. But okay, guys, we will wrap this episode up. We hope y'all enjoyed hearing some of our horrors or some of our highs in relationships. But yeah, just know that you are loved and respect yourself. If you're even on the edge about getting out of a relationship, that just means it's already over.
Yeah,
so
you need to get out.
Let's just bite the bullet and chunk the deuces and say bye.
Yeah. Amen, sister. Couldn't have said it better. Thank y'all for listening. We hope that you took something away from this episode, and we can't wait to talk to you next week. Love ya. Bye.
Bye, guys.